the Gunlance or the boomstick. If you want explosions, then this is your weapon. Here we go again for the final time. 5 tips for the Gunlance, where the 5th tip will be about skills that I would recommend to use along with this weapon. Now again, for anyone that's new watching this video, this is catered towards any new players of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. So if you're an advanced or veteran player that are out there watching this video, you don't need to watch it because I'm pretty sure you know what you're doing with the weapon. But it would be great to see you drop maybe some additional tips that I may have missed down in the comments below, so it would help out any new player. Starting off with the first tip, which is to understand your Gunlance type. There's 3 different Gunlance types to choose from that can impact with how you play with the weapon, since you want to be using some specific attacks that will do the most damage. Starting off with the first Gunlance type, which is the wide Gunlance types. Now these have the highest shell damage, so firing a shell will have more damage compared to the other 2. It has the weakest charge shell and burst fire damage, so you don't want to be using these 2 attacks with this weapon. And it also has an increased damage to Wyvern's Fire and Wyrmstake Cannon. This is where you need to just focus on those 2 attacks. You should not be using either the burst fire or using the charge shell shots. So just focus mostly on your Wyvern Fire and Wyrmstake Cannons. Next is the normal Gunlance types. They have the lowest shell damage out of the other 2. It does have a decent charged shell damage, meaning that this sits in the middle of the other 2. Additionally, it has an increased damage for burst fire. This obviously tells us that you should be focusing on the burst fire attack rather than using something like the Wyvern's Fire or Wyrmstake Cannon. And finally, we have the long Gunlance types. They have a decent shell damage, again meaning that this sits in between normal and wide in terms of damage. And it has the strongest charged shell damage, meaning that you obviously want to be focusing on the charged shell shots. You obviously want to be focusing your combos around which Gunlance has the highest damage potential with specific attacks. Personally, I'm more of a fan of the normal Gunlance because it allows me to burst fire the hell out of a monster, rather than using the long Gunlance type where you have to focus on the charged shells. It makes the Gunlance feel a bit more defensive, and I don't really like that, since you gotta pick out your right moments to fire the charged shells, and it kind of takes a bit long, and it just makes the long Gunlance feel a bit more slower. The wide Gunlance types is more about, again, finding the right moments to use the Wyvern Fire or the Wyrmstake Cannon to get the most damage out of your explosions. However, these are just my problems with weapons, and you can just go ahead and try it yourself, see whichever one fits your playstyle. Moving on to the second tip, which is to know about your quick reload. Quick reloading is your friend for whenever you use your shells. To perform this move, all you have to do is, after performing an attack, press the R2 and circle buttons or the RT and B buttons for the Xbox controller, and you should be able to quickly reload any shells that you have used. However, do take note that this move only reloads any shells you have used, and it will not reload your Wyrmstake Cannon. If you want to reload the Wyrmstake Cannon along with your shells, then you will have to perform the manual reload, which is the same button inputs as before, but without doing an attack first. The quick reload is very useful for obviously quickly reloading any shells, and it can be used to reset your attack combos. For example, if I were to jab and fire until I've run out of shells, I can just input the quick reload at the end of my combo to reset my combos. This will basically allow me to do an infinite combo. Another great way to use it is combining quick reload with a burst fire combo. After doing the burst fire attack, you won't be able to reload your shells with the quick reload. However, if you input a wide sweep after doing the burst fire, which is just done by pressing triangle or the Y button, You can now quick reload and then loop back again to perform the same combo over and over, until obviously the monster gets back up. This specific combo can only work best with the normal Gunlance types, because as I've said before, that normal Gunlance types have more burst fire damage. The third tip is to know about the wyrmstake blast. This is a move where you stick an explosive device into the monster. I was about to say stick a thing into the monster, but I guess it's a device. Sounds kind of weird. To do this move, you're gonna firstly need to have some slinger ammo ready. Then you'll have to load up the wyrmstake blast, which is done by either holding down the R2 or RT button to bring up the shield, and press L2 and circle, or LT and the B button to load up the wyrmstake blast. Or after doing an attack, you can just press the same L2 and circle buttons. When you load up the wyrmstake blast, the icon on the top left of the screen should have changed into the wyrmstake blast. Now whenever you do your normal button inputs for sticking up a wyrmstake cannon into the monster, instead it will stick the monster with a wyrmstake blast. This explosive device can only be triggered with the Gunlance's explosions. From firing your shells to using the wyvern's fire, whenever you trigger explosions where the wyrmstake blast is attached to, the device will trigger even more explosions, causing even more damage to the monster. This device will disappear after some time, so try to make full advantage of it whenever it is used on the monster. Another thing about this attack for you world only players, you won't be able to use this attack unless you have the Iceborne DLC. So just letting you know that you're basically missing out. The fourth tip is to watch your sharpness. Compared to other weapons, the Gunlance just loves to eat the sharpness. Whenever you perform any explosive attacks with the Gunlance, the sharpness on this weapon drops quite dramatically. Be sure to keep an eye out on your sharpness bar whenever you have time, because who knows, you might just run out in the middle of battle and then you're stuck with a weapon that bounces off the monster until the monster ignores you, giving you that chance to sharpen your weapon. Also, since you are going to be blocking the monster's attack every now and then, anytime you block a monster's attack, that will also contribute to lowering your weapon's sharpness. You might want to take with you a wet fish fin plus so that you can quickly sharpen your weapon and get back into the fight. And here we are again at the final and fifth tip, which is skills that I would recommend to use along with this weapon. Now again, I'm not trying to say that you definitely need to have these skills on for you to use the weapon. I'm just trying to say take a look at them, it might actually help out. One of them is Handicraft. Handicraft extends your weapon's sharpness gauge. Now it does say that it won't increase it past its limit, so you got to be careful on, whether your Gunlance's sharpness is already at its maximum. So you don't really need to have this on. But for those weapons that aren't at its maximum, then this can be useful for extending it, and whenever you're, using the Gunlance's shots, then it won't reduce it all the way down to, red or something like that. Capacity boost is a big one because it gives you another shell for you to use whenever you're, firing shots or you're using the burst file. It gives you another single shell, which is really good. Artillery is another good one because it increases the power of your Gunlance's shells and reduce your wyvern fire's cooldown. Again, that can be really useful. You can basically spam out your wyvern fire if you want to, or increase the damage of your shell attacks. Evade extender is another good one for just increasing that little hop that you do with the Gunlance, because if you haven't noticed already, when you evade with the Gunlance, you do a little hop rather than doing a full-on roll. Guard is obviously another good one because it's useful for blocking out attacks and reducing any stamina depleted when you're blocking those attacks. Quick Sheath, not really necessary, but if you really want to put back your Gunlance, then I go for Quick Sheath. But you can already fairly quickly put back the Gunlance, so this is a bit more no than the yes. Go for this. I'd rather not go for this. Speed sharpening is good for sharpening your weapon really quickly, but as I've said before, if you have the wet fish fin already, then you don't really need this. And again, I was about to mention maximum might, but I've realized that, well, every weapon can use maximum might as long as they don't use stamina. So yeah, this should have been just another one of those skills that you just put on, and you should maybe already have it on, like the attack boost skill. That's why I've never mentioned attack boost, because attack boost is something that you should maybe already be putting on your builds, or it just depends. If you have space, attack boost. If you don't have space, then I don't know. And that's all I have for the Gunlance. The Gunlance was probably I think my third weapon that I was like playing around with to see if I would be comfortable with this weapon. It was a nice little weapon at the time, but I moved on and just used other weapons and I feel more comfortable with other weapons. But this weapon was really good at that time, so Gunlance, it was okay. Anyways, I hope you guys found this video useful in some way. Give it a like if you did, and subscribe to the channel for more helpful videos. And you should also follow me on my Twitch. Link is down in the description box below, where you can talk to me live about video games, anime, or any other things just going around in the internet. So it would be great to see you there. And you should follow me on my Twitter for any other channel updates. I do post whenever I'm going live as well, and I like to tweet out some stuff every now and then, so it would be great to see you follow me there. That's all I have. Thank you guys for watching, and I shall see you guys later. Oh. What the heck? Whoa, what the? 5-star. Look. Okay. Oh, I got it.